From the shadowy depths of the city, where justice and mystery intertwine, emerges a broadcast as daring and vigilant as the masked Avenger himself. You are tuned in to the Green Hornet Case Files, unveiling the legacy and cultural significance of one of the greatest crime fighters of all time. Now, let the adventure begin. Here are your hosts, Kory and Greg.
Hey, it's episode 9 of the Green Hornet Case Files. I'm Greg.
It's been a minute since we heard that buzz, man. I'm Kory.
It has been a while. Boy, I tell you, the bonus episode that we wound up putting together when both of us were at the SummerCon in Puyallup, Washington, that next day, the Monday, that was two weeks ago when we were getting ready to record this.
Yeah.
And I got con crud.
It took you down like a darted elephant on the sand.
It most definitely did, and I mean, just kicked crap right out of me. It KO'd my, backside big time. I am still, my chest still kind of hurts. I still have trouble breathing, and we may get into the episode here, and I get into a coughing fit. I don't know.
Well, the main point here is it totally derailed everything we'd had going on.
Yeah, exactly. Fortunately, we had Deborah Potter in the can already to be able to do that show. We do have another show in the can that will be forthcoming in another
2 weeks after this one.
2 weeks after this one, yeah. So looking forward to that. And I've actually been reached out to by a couple of other writers.
Which I am excited about those.
Yeah. I was contacted by author Jim Beard, who has a brand new book. I believe it's out now that this podcast will be coming out. It's been out for a couple of weeks. And Jim, of course, would like to promote his book.
Yeah.
And it's Green Hornet. We'll promote the Green Hornet.
But I don't care if you doodle it on a paper and want to talk to us.
We can do that.
I'm down to talk to whoever about this.
And, we've had a lot of great comments. The comments continue, and I appreciate that. We've had a few comments that have been sort of on the side. I think people's expectations of a certain amount of, content sometimes doesn't equal their expectation.
Which, I mean, it's fair. Everybody's entitled. Like, I don't have a problem with that. But, yeah, at the same time, we're just two schmucks in a booth in the middle of nowhere talking about something we love. We're not the end-all, be-all. We have said that over and over.
And I am not one. There are things that I can go off on. There are topics that I can go off on and have over the years. And I love the Green Hornet, but it is not one of those topics that I have gotten into the minutia of things. And, I've been a Star Trek fan all my life.
Right.
And there are minutia bits of Trek.
Oh, I know.
Oh, I know you know. And, there have always been these individual kind of things. Scuba diving for me was a minutia thing because I was so involved in diving for so many years and was an instructor. And just, I can do that. Hornet's not one of those things.
Yeah.
I'm always learning.
Yeah. And that's why we're doing it. This is a learning curve for both of us.
And we've had so many people that have come back and said, I need to find time to sit and listen. And in fact, I had a note the other day from somebody saying, I've got some travel time coming up and I'm going to put you guys on for my entire travel. Thought that's really, really cool.
At the end of the day, though, I really appreciate even when somebody has a critical statement. And nothing's been super negative.
Oh no,
it's all been very positive. Just with I don't know if it's constructive criticism, but with criticisms in it. I'm just thankful you're listening. Thank you.
Yeah.
It means the world that you're just taking the time to check it out and come on this ride with us.
And there are places that we go every once in a while that are totally new territory for us. In fact, almost every episode is like new territory for us.
Oh yeah, we're flying by the seat of our pants for sure.
And some great stories that Deborah had to talk about her dad. Obviously, a lot of it was Green Hornet or a Batman.
Batman related, yeah.
Batman related as opposed to Green Hornet. And then basically she had to say that, her dad loved, Kato.
Yeah.
And
so do we. That's why a lot of us are here.
Why we like it so very, very much. But it was just really nice to make that connection with her.
Can I do a plug for something that does not benefit us in any way, shape, or form?
Please do.
Okay, and I sent this to you the other day, but if any of you out there are fans that have not visited Bruce Lee's official website, they just released 3 Masked Dragon, I believe is the title that they're calling them, Bruce as Kato shirts that are now available on their website. And again, we get no kickback from that. We got nothing. There's no benefit to us to say that at all.
No.
Other than I want to see more of them in the world. Go order them. Get them. They look amazing.
I have one in my cart.
Yeah.
Already at this point.
Nice.
And I haven't pulled the trigger on it yet. But yes, by all means. And, I was one of those guys that when there was a point in time in the 70s, the late 70s, where you could go into a mall and there was usually a T-shirt shop in the mall. And you'd go through and pick out, number 125, and they would put that on your shirt.
And they'd press it.
Yes. Yeah. They do that for you. And I had one of the Bruce Lee shirts at the time, was
it the old, what they call them, Keglin, the baseball sleeves? Where it's like a different color on the top?
No, this was just a regular T-shirt.
Okay.
Yeah, just regular
I don't know why I associate that shirt with the 70s, the baseball sleeve.
I still have some, yeah. So I'm obviously a 70s kind of guy. No, we've had really nice comments from everybody, and we do appreciate that. We threw something out last time that we've had a couple of comments in regards to, and that was in the possibility of supporting the podcast in some fashion.
Oh, we did get some comments on that.
We did wound up. People were, by all means, we would love to help you out. And I know our intimation was in a financial fashion of some sort. And, we're not looking to make money. We can't, this isn't going to be my day job. It kind of is my day job. But
lucky.
I'm just retired, okay? So my day job is whatever I happen to be doing at that point in time. The comments, though, were very positive that, we love what you guys are doing, and if we can help out, let us know.
Fantastic. That's really cool.
And it really boils down to more of the back end of the podcast as to, where it's being hosted, how it's being hosted, the levels of analytics that we get to see who is listening to the show, those kind of things. And those things cost money.
Yeah.
And as an old retired guy and,
on a fixed income,
exactly. So one of the things at the con that we kind of briefly bounced off of was the lack of Green Hornet.
Yeah, there was you. That was it.
I think the only other 2 things I saw Green Hornet was there was a piece of art from one of the Dynamite comics that was the crossover comic with Batman.
66.
And it was a really cool piece. I believe it was signed, and I can't remember now who the artist was. I should know that. And the only other thing that I saw Green Hornet in any fashion was, I think I mentioned there,
Funko
was
Pops.
Funko Pops.
Yeah, the 2-pack, right?
Yeah, the 2-pack, and that's it.
Yeah. So I didn't even see the Funko Pops. Now, and I was looking at that. I don't know if you've been to a con, but there's a fair amount of those little guys running around everywhere.
Yes, there are.
But I went to a lot of stands with a lot of Funko Pops, and I didn't see those because I don't have them. I probably would have picked them up had I seen them. But there was one, I think I mentioned, there was a guy selling some really cool pulpish art, some original Rocketeer stuff.
Yeah.
And I got super excited and started digging through their stuff because I was hoping we would find something Hornet related, and unfortunately there wasn't. But in that stand, but I didn't see the other one either. I didn't see the crossover cover. So, it's just like we were talking about on the little brief con episode, which I got to admit, the lady coming up and talking to John, sorry to digress, was the cutest thing. Like, she's just talking to him, like he's standing right next to us dressed as Batman. You're in full Green Hornet, we're recording. And she just comes up and is like, I love you guys. God. It was so sweet. Anyway, yeah, that was a digression. But I talked to, I can't think of his name now. The guy that created Booster Gold.
Oh, okay.
The DC character Booster Gold, which was my travel companion. That's why we went, was because Booster Gold's his favorite. And he was talking to me, and you guys had walked past, and he mentioned, he's like, did you see the Green Hornet go by? And I was like, yeah, that's my buddy Greg. And I was like, we do a Green Hornet podcast. And he was like, I'd kind of like to get my hands on that. And I was like, do it.
Yeah.
Draw some Green Hornet. And I didn't have $300 to get a commission, or else I would have, because that would have been awesome. But it was one of those things where I kind of think that's going to be my con thing now, is I'm going to start looking at the artists that are coming and emailing them and saying, can you do a Green Hornet piece?
Yeah.
And just seeing what I get,
It's the very first con, and we mentioned this again on the bonus episode, the very first con that I went to with John 3 years ago, I think, Lilac City Comic-Con. I mentioned that Warren Montgomery we were just walking by his booth, and Warren was like, hey, I've got you. And I'm like, what do you mean you got me? And he goes, I got you right here. And he flops open his book, and there's a Green Hornet, piece of art. And I immediately bought it, and it features prominently on my display at home.
Heck yeah.
And that's it. That's all that you see.
And so you've done a few, right? You guys have been hitting it pretty hard.
Oh yeah.
You're going to Lilac City. You've been to Rose City.
Emerald City.
Emerald City. Oh, did you do Emerald City?
Yeah, we did Emerald City earlier. That's Seattle.
And then you did SummerCon last year as well, right?
I did not.
Oh, okay.
But we've also done Fan Expo in Portland.
That's the one I'm thinking of.
Yes.
That's the one I'm thinking of.
And we have yet to go San Diego Comic-Con, because I'm down there for another, our movie that's being shown.
Right.
We're going to take one day.
Is John traveling too?
Yes.
Okay.
But John's doing all 5 days, as Batman or whatever. He just loves being Batman. Batman with the surfboard.
He's got the variants. Yeah.
And we're going to take one day of being down there and just do, a little cosplay.
Yeah.
And then the rest of the time we're spent, doing the movie stuff.
Yeah, right.
So.
But I'm curious as to what you're going to find there. And I know I mentioned that I was curious about the reaction you would get down there. But I'm willing to bet if you're going to find some Hornet stuff, that's the one.
It could be. It's just not
as prevalent as it should be. Yeah.
No, it just really isn't. I think, had Kevin Smith had the opportunity of doing the movie version and kind of doing it more what we say the right way, I guess.
Well, the version that appeared in the comic, yeah.
Yeah, exactly. I think maybe that might have driven an awful lot more in the way of merch.
Yeah.
And pop culture status. Because there's no way at this point that, Green Hornet can be considered pop culture status of a Batman.
No,
absolutely.
No.
It's too big.
No, and it hasn't. It's the Batman's Batman because of consistency.
Yeah.
There's never been a drought in Batman. It's been a constant part of the zeitgeist since the 30s.
Yeah.
And Hornet has been there along the way, but not consistent.
No.
Not there the large swaths of time are a great detriment.
You look at, and I was thinking about this last night as I was trying to figure out what we were going to do today to get to the end of the podcast.
If you figured it out, we're winging it.
But I'm sitting there thinking, okay, how many? I don't know the number of episodes that were done of the radio show, in the thousands of episodes, and those ran from 1936 on through the 50s, and then we wound up with some newspaper kind of article, comic kind of things. Made that transition to comic art at that point in time, and then we went into the 40s, obviously, with the two with 13 episode runs.
The serial, yeah.
The two serials, and the rest of the time, other than the 66 TV series and the movie, the rest of the time it has been in art form.
Yeah.
That's the only thing I can think, other than like the French film that was done, the French short.
Yeah. And so I'm going to put this out there. We got another episode coming out, but the next episode after that.
Yeah.
That's our topic. That's what I want to talk about. That episode, that French short film in depth.
Okay.
They'll give us some homework, and that also, if we're putting it out now, it gives people a chance to go look at it.
Yeah. In fact, I'll try and remember and put a link to it. Yeah. And it's, the quality is really, really bad.
Yeah.
On it. And, but it's actually well done.
So I'd like to dive into it.
Yeah.
We've mentioned it so many times, I really think it deserves a solid look.
I think so. Another aspect is, as I go and I do cosplay, it's the costume. Mm-hmm. The whole costume aspect, and the fact that I chose the 66 look for, the Van Williams kind of clean lines of the suit, and the mask had to be just, the right kind of a mask, and the hat. And that's not an easy thing to nail.
No.
To try and get.
And that's the other thing, though, is every piece you have is quality.
Yeah.
It's quality.
Yeah.
There's nothing that's Halloween store, like, I could see how somebody from a distance wouldn't maybe pick up on that, but you get up close when you're walking from the wand, I can't think of the word, your nightstick.
Oh yeah. The sting.
Yeah, and then you've got the gas gun, and the coat is just, the mask is excellent quality, the hat is perfect. But it's all, you could take the mask off and wear it to a nice dinner. Yeah.
That's the beauty of and I wound up finding the coat on an Etsy shop from India. And I struck up a conversation with this person because they had some other things on there that were of a similar nature. And it's it's a Chesterfield kind of coat that they used for the 66. Now, you go back to the movie serials, and everything was different.
Yeah.
It was all different. And I have one of those masks that I had a local fella, out of leather, make that.
Which looks awesome, too.
Which it really does. It doesn't work with the hat that I have, which is kind of bizarre. But to try and nail that look, it has been this process. The very first coat that I got, my wife, found a coat someplace, and she found a hat. And both are very, very fine coat and hat. Very fine. And they're not right at all.
Right.
And, I believe there's a bit of her that's like, I was trying very hard to, and I appreciate that very, very much. And it was the best we could find at the time.
Right.
And again, as I've, mentioned, limited income here.
Yeah, on a budget.
On a budget. And I did get a hold of Clint, I can't think of Clint Young, is the fellow that does the Batman has a Batmobile. He does Batman. He was Adam West's Batman when Adam would go out and do shows.
Right.
And Clint also produces the varying masks that the Hornet had. There were 3 or 4 variations. The Bruce Lee mask, there were a couple of variations of that. And the Kato darts. I mean, there's some little bits and pieces. The gas gun that I have was one of Clint's as well. And, the mask was really, really good. I did some work on it, to get it to fit just right. But the color was wrong. It's a very fine-looking mask. Clint, you do an absolutely awesome job. The color's wrong. If you're going to get into the minutia.
The minutia, yeah.
And cosplayers do tend to get into the minutia.
Do they ever?
Yeah.
Which is something that's always kind of kept me. I am a nerd, and I love many, many things in pop culture. I do not have what you would call an eye for detail. I don't care. I do care. I do appreciate very much when somebody does it. But I, for me, am very much a good enough kind of guy. And so it's one of those things that I just don't want to dive in because I know that somebody is going to be like, that's wrong, and that's wrong, and that's wrong.
And I've got that already.
Yeah.
I really have. I've had people go, oh, your costume looks great, but it's a large ass right there, a large butt. Something so simple as when I've never felt like the costume was exactly right, and here a while back, it hit me. I was looking at pictures and realizing that as far as the 1966 look goes, my pants were too long.
Oh, yeah, they're kind of high waters for Van, huh?
Yeah, so
I wouldn't have picked that up.
It just never looked, it looked wrong to me. It looked just kind of sloppy. And there's a couple of other cosplayers out there doing Green Hornet that, I look and it's sort of the same thing. And we're wearing pants like we wear pants now. They break, big time across the top of the foot, and there's all this extra, fabric down there.
Yeah.
And I realized the other day in looking at pictures that, they're flood pants, what we used to call floods back in the, 70s or whatever. So I've taken my pants to the local, person, and I guess tomorrow I get to go pick them up. And
oh, right on.
So I get to see what it looks like with flood pants.
Or you should take a picture of you in costume now or already, and then post it side by side of the new ones, and then maybe even a picture of Van to get all three, to get this is the detail I'm trying to bring in. Yeah. And put that up on the website.
Yeah, I will do that.
And if you don't know the website, it's greenhornet66.com.
And if you'd like to comment on any of the minutia that we were discussing, it's
you gotta get in the weeds a little.
Podcast at greenhornet66.com. I do enjoy very much dressing up as the Green Hornet. I have not gone and taken the 1940s outfit to a con yet.
Which is that on the docket? Is that something you're getting ready to roll out, or how are you going to do that?
I think before we wrap up this year, I probably will at least once. It's more difficult because you have to carry a lot more stuff with you. It's 2 hats, different mask. Technically, the coat's not the same at all. It's a totally different coat, and I just haven't gone that far with trying to recreate that 1940s kind of look.
It would be kind of dope if you could get some pieces that worked for both, but enough detail to swap them out and do one day and one another day.
Yeah. And I really am very curious as to what kind of reception that particular outfit will give us.
So I mentioned this in the bonus episode, and it was the amount of retired age cosplayers that we saw was something I guess I just wasn't thinking about, but it's wonderful. It's super, and I think those cats are gonna pick it up, are gonna notice. Your average anime cosplayer that's like 16 or 17, they're not gonna know what the hell's going on.
No.
They're the oh, it's the Riddler.
Yeah. And that's why I started carrying the cards. That's
Yeah.
why I created these cards that I carry that on one side it's the logo and it says you've been stung. And on the other side then it's a very small print because there's so much, but I've a brief history of the fact that the Hornet predates Superman and Batman and Wonder Woman and
which also works twofold because it works as your seal, like from the original from the radio
exactly.
show. Yeah,
exactly. It really does. It really does. It will be interesting as we move forward. We have an upcoming guest. We haven't nailed her down yet, but she has expressed interest in being on the show, and she will be the closest to the source that we have.
it's the closest to the sources you can get.
Yeah, it really is just about as close as you can get. And I'm really curious to bring some questions. One of the questions that always gets asked of me is, when are they finally going to bring out the Green Hornet 66 in DVD form?
Right. Well, and that's, yeah.
And in talking with Deborah the other day, she sold the rights to it.
Yeah.
She has nothing to do with it whatsoever.
Right.
Just collecting the paycheck or whatever. And it will be an interesting thing. We had the conversation with Martin.
Yeah.
We briefly discussed, that. There's no money in it.
No, not yet.
Not yet.
If everything kind of hinges going forward on a new movie.
A new movie. Yeah.
Yeah. Unless somebody somewhere back, like there was a resurgence during the Smith Hester run,
Mm-hmm.
Of the comic that was, it was cool. It felt like it was building, and then it kind of tapered off. And it's ebbs and flows in the fandom, but the movie, a good movie, is what it's gonna take. But at the same time, you get a bad movie weighs it down. I'm an enormous Judge Dredd fan.
Mm-hmm.
In the late 90s, Sylvester Stallone did a Judge Dredd movie, which is pretty divisive amongst Judge Dredd fans. Some like it, some hate it. One of the cardinal things was he took his helmet off, and that's not something Dredd does.
Right.
As a matter of fact, I saw somebody draw a picture of Dredd without his helmet, and it was just his mouth. But in the mid-2000s, Carl Urban starred as Dredd.
Mm-hmm.
That movie is phenomenal. But it never went anywhere because of the weight of that Stallone movie. Everybody had this picture in their mind of this cheesy, not taking it serious movie. I mean, it had friggin' Rob Morrow in it, for Christ's sakes. but it just weighed down this movie that was one of the best comic book movies, and that's not just as a Dredd fan, just as a comic book movie fan I'd ever seen. Carl Urban's Dredd is incredible. So my trepidation is this upcoming in development Hornet movie has got a lot of drag from Seth Rogen.
Oh, yeah, it really does.
And I know we've gone back and forth and talking about, there are redeeming qualities to that movie. There's a lot of negativity to it, but overall it was a flop, and that's how people see it. They probably haven't even seen the film because they just looked at it and it looked dumb. They didn't like it.
Which is interesting because I showed it to my grandson, who is now 16, will be 17, and it was a couple of years ago. And he liked it.
Yeah.
Because it was a total different generation.
Yeah.
and he did not have the history, to go beyond exactly what
he
it was.
was just watching it for what it was, and he
Seth
enjoyed
Rogen,
it.
being Seth Rogen, and a party boy, and so for that, but again, like you said, it just didn't go anywhere.
Right.
And for any of the fandom, it actually, like you said, it's a weight.
Yeah. And that's the problem is when you get that weight, the next thing, and it can be done. It absolutely can be done. But the drag of say, well, another example, I'm a huge Green Lantern fan.
Oh, yeah.
The Ryan Reynolds Green Lantern fan sunk any hopes of new Green Lantern stuff for a decade.
Easily.
And we're just now coming out and getting something new coming. But that entire time that we get 27 Batman reboots and 50 different Spider-Man origin stories, the weight of something bombing, especially in Hollywood, makes it so they don't want to do it. They don't want to touch it.
Just don't want to touch it.
And it's a bummer.
It's been almost, was it 8 years now that since the Seth Rogen, was it 16?
Yeah.
2016?
2016.
So, we're coming at 8 years, 9 years, 10 years. I think it's time.
Yeah.
I think there's enough time that's passed that, we'll get past, that property.
Right.
As long as, and we've had this comment made many, many times, as long as they do it right. With my air quotes.
Yeah.
Right. What is right? I don't know. Something that's not Seth Rogen.
Well, it's like when we were talking to Ron, or it might have even been Martin. Somebody mentioned it as needing to be grittier than anything we've seen so far.
Yeah, I just recently rewatched The Phantom. Billy Zane. Billy Zane's The Phantom. And that was something.
That movie in years, man.
That was something that Martin talked about in the very second podcast, I guess, was feeling like we needed to do that, or even the Shadow,
the Baldwin Shadow,
which
I still love that movie.
Take it and throw it back into, that 30s.
It has to be a period piece of some sort.
And although when you look at Ron, in fact, I've just finished reading the complete, Ron Fortier now comic run. Just finished it last night. There could very well be a way of bridging. And as a filmmaker, I think about these things a lot, and I think, okay, well, should I be writing a script at this point in time? Okay, well, maybe I will.
Do it on spec, brother. Go.
Yeah, do it on spec. Started off with the 1930s, and
even like go down through the ages type of deal.
Yeah,
like Ron did,
and figure out how to take that into the future. I'm not saying stealing Ron's ideas,
no,
but utilizing as the Phantom, the ghost who walks. New generation, same maybe basic idea. I think there was there's a period of time in the late 80s through the 90s where a great deal of, and honestly we have Tim Burton's Batman to thank for it, was that movies would get made with an ambiguous time. Mm-hmm.
And that was really even embraced into the Batman animated series. It had modern things happening, but it also had 30s Art Nouveau architecture and car design, and it might even be something like that could be done, where you just create its own
own universe.
It doesn't need to play in ours.
That's a heck of an idea.
It just could be its own, it could be a postmodern with throwback, almost like you would kind of apply and I'm not saying the aesthetic of, but a steampunk type of look at it. Not a steampunk style so much, but a steampunk way of looking at it, where you take this alternate history route and be like, this is the world that created off of this timeline.
Dick Tracy.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
What was that? Warren Beatty's.
Warren Beatty's Dick Tracy.
Dude,
yeah.
I loved that movie as a kid.
Yeah.
Oh, I went back and read so many comics.
And it had that 40s, 30s, 40s feel to it, but you could never really put your finger on exactly when this was.
Yep, exactly. And that's what I think it should be.
I'm liking where you're going with this.
Thanks, brother.
And it would be interesting to see. I've reached out to the writer, David Koepp, who has a very long and very, what's the word I want? Varied, yeah. Well, but a lot of different shows that he has been a part of.
Yeah.
Jurassic Parks and Mission Impossible, Stir of Echoes. I'm just kind of rolling down through a number of the things. Indiana Jones and the Crystal Skull.
Don't.
No. That's it's okay. It's okay.
Dude, I
The
get PTSD.
Mummy.
Okay.
Indiana Jones and the Dial of Destiny. I mean,
Which was good.
Was not bad.
I like that movie.
He's had his fingers in, and I feel like maybe the Hornet is in good hands.
Yeah.
And the one quick comment he and I had back and forth on a string was, saying I said something about, essentially don't screw it up without being quite such, so crass. And he said, I'm working on it.
Yeah.
I'm working to keep it true. And that was a big thing to me.
Right.
Was to hear, I'm working to keep it, there for the fans.
In especially niche fandoms, is those of us that have stuck it out, that are huge fans of something that not everyone else is.
Right.
Tend to be the most critical groups when stuff. I mean, obviously you can't compare it. Like it's nothing compared to the criticalness of, say, Star Wars fans.
Oh no.
But when there's a large swath that's just happy to have anything. Please, maybe we have some more.
Please.
But then there's also the guys that are like, no matter what, it's not going to be what I wanted.
Exactly.
And that's the bummer part of it. But if it can mostly appease those guys, it's going to appease the rest of us a great deal. And if it can bring in new people, that's all we want.
Oh, and see, that was the comment that was made to me for this upcoming guest. The comment was made that I like what you guys are doing, and it's keeping things alive.
Right.
And that means a lot.
Well, that's all we're trying to do.
That's all we're trying to do is we're just trying to keep the conversation going.
Yep.
And sometimes it gets a little in the weeds, and sometimes people don't totally agree with what we're saying, and that's fine too.
Yeah. But as we said at the outset, which is the perfect end cap to this episode, is we just appreciate that you're listening and commenting at all.
We do. Podcast at greenhornet66.com. This has been one of those weird episodes that we had no idea where we wanted to go, and
it still went by super fast.
It did. It really and truly did. If you have any thoughts as to whether you would like to support the podcast in some fashion, financial or otherwise, just drop us a quick note. We don't have anything in place yet. We're not asking for money at this point. It's just an idea on how to move forward. If you have ideas as far as upcoming guests or topics that you would, I know that we have a number of people would like us to do breakdowns of episodes.
Yeah, and that's coming.
And I think that's coming.
Yeah.
there will get to be a point where we can't sit in the room and do what we've done today. In the same way.
I don't know that it worked this time.
I don't know if it did or not. We'll get 3 listeners, and it'll be you and me twice. So I guess that's 4 listeners. And, if you have suggestions and thoughts, we'd, of course, love to hear from you.
Can we, I know we've already mentioned it, but can we talk about what they have to look forward to next episode?
Next episode is the next one or the 2 after? Let's go ahead and mention the fact.
It's Phil, right?
Yeah, Phil Hester.
Phil Hester, our interview, which you've heard me rant and rave about how excited I was, and I totally do freak out about it. But next 2 weeks from when you're listening to this, you're gonna hear our interview with Phil Hester.
I believe it's 2 weeks from there. If not, it's coming.
Yeah.
It's coming very, very soon, and we're really excited about that. I've got to know Phil a number of years ago, and we had him on another podcast that you and I worked on a number of years back, and it just made sense.
Yeah.
And Phil said, talk about Green Hornet? Sure.
Well, that day I got that text. You're like, oh yeah, Phil's in. I'm like, dude, I ran around my house like a little kid. I'm like, Phil Hester. I love that man.
Going to get the guy back on the show. And we've tried to beat up Phil a little bit about the possibility of getting his other writing partner on the show.
Yeah, and we haven't got any real movement yet, but when we do...
Haven't even discussed the possibility of Kevin Smith, but other than with Phil and, so... But you never know. You never know. I've been so stoked so far with the people who've come out of the woodwork and agreed to be a part of the podcast. Deborah and Phil, and I just can't thank Ron Fortier for spending time with us, and it's just been a journey,
and it's still going. We're still putting one foot in front of the other,
and we are. And with that, are you ready?
Let's roll.
Let's roll.
As the night envelops the city once more, our journey through the hidden alleys of history and valor comes to a close. You've been riding shotgun with the Green Hornet case files, where the echoes of the past meet the voices of the present. Tune in again for the next thrilling adventure, where shadows speak, secrets unfold, and the legacy of the Green Hornet continues to inspire. The Green Hornet Case Files is a Grail Productions podcast. The Green Hornet is owned exclusively by Green Hornet, Inc. Until next time, vigilant listeners, keep your wits sharp and your spirit unbreakable.